The following is a presentation of iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Live tonight from the Charlotte Motor Speedway, the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series returns into the final race before we set up a chase grid of 8 going forward as we get set for tonight's Charlotte 125. We say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to LSRTV's continuing coverage of the 2016-2017 Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series presented by Hippie's Paint Shop. As always, happy to be with you topside tonight. Myself, Evan Pasoko, alongside with James Pike at the LSR TV booth downstairs. The lovely and talented Cisco Scaramuza pushing the buttons and bringing us to you here this evening. The drivers just wrapping up their 10-minute qualifying session as we get set to go tonight, James. 6th race on this 10-race campaign, and something that we really haven't ever seen before in just a 10-race championship here on LSRTV with this Icebreaker Series is the implementation of a chase. Going to be 2 chase rounds. It gets kicked off next week, which means that tonight is, for a lot of guys, their final opportunity to try to move up or below that final cut line for the top 8.
Yeah, going to be a lot of fun to watch. You would think going into this that you have a top 8 that are pretty much set. Doug Roth is 22 points to the good in that final cutoff spot over William Hale. But, you know, this is racing and, you know, adages about fat lady singing and so on and so forth. I won't spend too much time on the cliches, Evan, but we do have to take in mind anything can happen, and it is Charlotte, and crazy things have happened here before.
There are a lot of guys to that note who are well up and above that cut line. Somebody like a Scott Simley who is at the top of it all. David Comstock, EJ O'Rourke, Mike Kelly, Dwayne Vincent, Chad Cole. And then you get to the names that you were talking about. Jose Gonzalez, Doug Roth. They're in, and in many cases 22, and then what's going to be 26 points is relatively good. I'm sure that they would like it to be a little bit more. It doesn't lock them in. They would have to have some bad luck. That's really the only hope that guys like William Hale and a Jeff Faviano are hanging on to. Another big thing to note that Michael Waters and Jeff Ward, 11th and 12th in the points respectively, they're really back by the utmost of nearly 40 points apiece. Those are 2 drivers that have been to victory lane on the year that might even not make it into that top 8 chase cutoff. So kind of showing that you can get those trips to victory lane, but consistency every other out on the racetrack, especially when you're not going to victory lane, has been critical.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll just have to watch and see what happens. But it does kind of go back to the old adages you heard in the Winston Cup days. Consistency is king. And in the Icebreaker Series, he who, or I suppose she, in some cases, who can do the best impression of Matt Kenseth and just finish top 5 every week will usually be the driver looking best on that point standings when we get to money time.
Tonight's coverage, as always, presented in part by Hippie's Paint Shop. Hippie's Paint Shop has over 5 years of providing top-quality custom paint schemes for all iRacing vehicles at a low price. Because after all, at Hippie's Paint Shop, the cost isn't high, just the painter. Qualifying, get a draw to a close. We'll go trackside in a moment. Take a look at your LSR TV starting grid for this, the 6th of 10 races on this annual Icebreaker Winter Series campaign. Again, tonight, the final race of the regular season. Going forward, it will be an 8-driver chase for the championship. 2 rounds will draw these guys down to a 4-car take-all finale. That's coming up in just a few weeks' time. But with that, we do go trackside. We'll take a look at tonight's LSR TV starting grid for round number 6. Pole position tonight could have belonged to William Hale, the number 62 Chevrolet, with a 28.458 on pole. He also bested the practice session earlier in the night. He's joined on the front row by the number 9 of Jeff Ward. Justin Lisenby just behind overall from 3rd tonight. Tim Matthews coming in with a P4 result in qualifying. Bobby Terrell inside of the top 5.
6th will be the number 20 machine of A.J. Browning. Mr. RSR Chad Cole will start on the outside of row number, or inside rather, of row number 4 in the 7th spot. Jose Gonzalez, the beat model machine, will start 8th. Brian Macklin will come off to the green flag from the 9th position. Michael Waters, the 55, will round out the top 10.
Continuing on down through P11 tonight belongs to E.J. O'Rourke. He elected not to take a time earlier in practice. John Abbott going to join him on the outside of row number 6. Unlucky number 13 tonight belongs to David Comstock. The Navy Nuke Eric Arnold alongside in 14th, and Scott Simley behind them 15th.
In 16th, it's another Scott, this time Stenzel in that 42 Haviland Ford Mustang. 17th will be, oh, look at that, the 17 of Bobby Wetzel, who also had the 17th fastest practice time. Maybe it's his lucky number tonight. 18th will be the 24th of Ryan Chambliss. Number 2, Mike Kelly will come off in the 19th position. Gerald Campbell will start 20th.
21st position tonight goes to the 95 of Jeffrey Ford, Dwayne Vincent. A little bit further back than the 25 as used to be. He is in 22nd tonight. Jeff Faviano, top 10 car in practice, didn't quite nail the Q run. He'll start back in 23rd. 24th to his right-hand side is John Fowler and Steve Bavacqua with a P25.
David Nance will start 26th. Douglas Wyatt will come off alongside him in 27th. James Nunn will start from the 28th position. That's David Patone, who will come off from 29th. Shane Ewing will round out the top 30.
Only 2 of the drivers elected to take a time in qualifying tonight. That's 31st, Joey Jatita, and 32nd, Alan Rowell. Provisionals going to go 33rd through 38th. They include Doug Roth, Mike Franklin, Matthew Payne, Josh Cheney, Scott Warren, and Joe Hudson, top to bottom. That's a look at your LSRTV race results as we get set to get this one underway. We talk about this, the Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's NASCAR's backyard. This is the only 1.5-mile racetrack that comes with a standard iRacing subscription. Everybody has hours and hours of track time at this, the 24-degree, 1.5-mile racetrack. It is going to be an exciting one, and you add that on top of the fact, as it usually is on the sim here, James, under the lights tonight makes it just a little bit more fun.
Yeah, a home game for everybody if you're, in the real world, but everybody does have a lot of time on this in the sim, so it's kind of a home game for everybody in iRacing when you think about it. But I'll be watching to see how these drivers roll turn 3 in particular. 1 and 2, it's not necessarily so difficult to get through, but making and breaking a good lap is entirely down to turn 3. So we take the green flag.
We're happy to have you with us at LSRTV iRacing Live. Green flag out in the air. We're off to turn number 1 for the first time tonight. Big jump for pole sitter William Hale. The 62 set sail by a good 6-7 car lengths as they go off into the corner. Side by side, they'll dance for second. Inside the place to be. Up from row number 2, the 33 of Justin Lisenby will slot into P2. Drops Jeff Ford back to second. No challenge. Further off to turn number 3. First fight back around P7 with the 8 and the 20 machine doing some side by side in quarter number 4.
Bobby Terrell, Chad Cole, 1-2 right alongside each other coming down the front straightaway. We'll see how long it takes for these guys to get settled into any sort of groove. You would think they'd want to kind of stretch it out, just get down into the inside, get into some sort of rhythm, Evan, but everybody's still charging hard on back. I look back a few more rows, and there's still 2, and in some cases 3 wide down the back straightaway.
Early in these races, probably not going to be the only time tonight when we talk about restarts. Going to be critical to get in a lot of real estate as you can. The side-by-side action is not uncommon here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Take a look at the number 31, for example. Eric Arnold, as everybody else, wants to dive down to the bottom in 3 and 4. He actually uses that outside to his advantage. Was able to get around the 10 of John Abbott last time. He brings it up next to Michael Waters this time. They'll go side-by-side off of quarter number 4, side-by-side behind him as well. This looks like more company with that Teddy machine after to fight off the 68. And so far off at this end of the racetrack in 3 and 4 as the 31 gets another spot. The outside not looking too bad.
Not too shabby, but he's just in a whole stack of cars. You got Michael Waters right there, David Comstock, who won the last race last time out at Michigan. He's all right there looking underneath Brian Macklin as they go into turn 2. 40 will see if he can get a drive up off of the corner, and we'll see if Macklin can get down to the inside once Comstock completes the class, which will probably happen in turn 3, you would think. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
40 is going to be able to get clear. That 31 almost thought about diving down to the inside, waited just a little bit, and I think he gave Brian Macklin just a bit of a shot to the left rear quarter panel as they went off to the quarter. Nothing really comes from that. They single file up for the moment behind them. Here comes the 2 on the attack. Mike Kelly up the bottom. He'll get around the 68 as Simley and Michael Waters a little bit caught out of guard there in the center of the corner. The 2 trying to get 2 in one swing, wasn't able to do it. Still side by side off to quarters 3 and 4. He'll be on the inside once again. Looks like he will get that position just as in front of him. Almost an identical move on behalf of the third out of Eric Arnold to get around the 03. Lots of action back here just outside the top 10.
But isn't that just kind of what Mike Kelly has made a habit of doing here in the RSR Icebreaker Series and in the Full Throttle Cup Series last year? Has a habit of not necessarily qualifying well, but finds his way through the field, is able to race his way up to the front. It's part of the reason why he was able to get to the championship for November, part of the reason why he will probably be in the chase. But again, anything can happen, but gotta watch for that 2 car, because I imagine it won't be too long before we see him up towards the top 5.
The biggest amount of action we see all night is at the start here at Gidoto, when we see guys who maybe outpace during their race trim, their qualifying efforts, trying to make their way through, and vice versa. You'll see a couple of guys that qualify a little bit better than maybe that car is on the long run. They're going to be dropping back. That's the sort of filtering that we're going to see for the next couple of laps. How about the 10 of John Abbott? He just looked at the bottom of the 2 of Mike Kelly. Kelly shut the door on him because he went up to the inside of the 03 of Brian Macklin. So the defensive move in order to keep that inside of positioning. The second he gets clear, John Abbott coming back on the attack. He lost 2 spots earlier, trying to get back to P12 where he started. If he's able to make this move on the 2, looks like he's got good positioning coming off of the corner down to the back.
I almost feel like I'm watching the Street Stocks in a sense, because these guys are kind of shuffling around in lanes and bouncing between the inside and the outside, much like you see the Street Stocks do when they run here. It's kind of funny, a harkening back to everybody's first few days when they were on the sim. But yeah, Abbott gets clear of that 2 car. He'll move up to, I believe, that should be the 11th spot, I think? 12th.
Just behind him as well, you got Mike Kelly, who seems to have been going, and he's +6 himself. Makes him one of the bigger movers so far to this point. In fact, he's tied as the biggest mover right now, along with Jeff Aviano, who is also +6. Started 23rd, was 17th the last time by the start-finish line, but he's not going forwards. He was under attack that lap. 42 up the inside of the racetrack. Stenzel wasn't able to do anything. Once again, still with that Baby Ruth throwback Ford paint scheme as we've seen all season long. 42 going to drop back. The 17 comes on the attack, and it's going to be Bobby Wetzel who's moving forward. By the way, up front, it's still William Hale in the race lead. Lisenby Ward not all that far back, but most of the action is most definitely back here where we've been keeping an eye around 15.
And I was going to say, it looks like everything's kind of settled up where John Abbott and Mike Kelly are, and you do have to jump back to where Macklin is to really find any side-by-side racing, but you got him there, Scott Simley's there, Bobby Wetzel's there, Jeff Aviano's right there. It's all kind of a mess, and, well, I suppose that's just kind of what happens.
Was a little bit of action, and it continues on just inside of the top 10. It was for 9th position. Not a good ring around for the 40 of EJ O'Rourke. He was 9, and he's getting absolutely freight trained. The 10, the 2, now the 55 cut up on him, and O'Rourke, that little bit of a bobble after he picked up 2 spots to get the P9, falls to 13th. That lap alone, as 11 laps complete in the books, it's still Hale P1. Side by side for second on the racetrack. Jeff Ward trying to get where he started back, trying to get back to P2. And as he stays side by side with Justin Lisenby, it's allowing Tim Matthews in that number 4 spot to kind of reel into this battle, making it a 3-car fight.
We haven't really had a battle up towards the front of the field so far yet, but this is the first one that we've really seen. Hale set off a little bit at the front of the field, but it's still Lisenby and still Jeff Ward alongside each other. They go into the corner. We'll see if they end up stuck like this forever, but I figure they'll probably try and feel each other out for a few laps, maybe see what works, what doesn't work. I don't think it's ever too early, Evan, to try and make mental notes, see what your car can do and can't do on this track, especially on fresh tires, because who knows, if we get to a place where we've got a caution with 10 laps to go, we could be looking at very similar conditions as Ward gets a really, really good run off the corner. We'll see if he can make anything of it as they go down into turn 3.
Took 2 peeks at the bottom, didn't end up sticking that nose to the inside, kind of playing games and keeping that 33 focused in the rearview mirror all over the bumper, and he'll give him a shot that time off of the corner. Lisenby sprays some sparks back as he just scraped the outside fence. The 9 machine applying all the pressure, just 15 laps in of 125 for the night. Going to be just about 188 miles start to finish. By the time this race comes to a completion again tonight, also marks the first of 5 consecutive 1.5 mile intermediate racetracks to close out and really that make up the entire second half of this season. If you can have success tonight, maybe a sign of things to come. That 9 is able to get a nose to the inside. They'll go side by side for P2.
He's got to go for it. Jeff Ward's outside the chase cutoff. If he wants any chance of making it, he more likely than not has to get up to the front and get the win. Step 1 on that march to P1 is getting around the 33 of Lisenby. He's got 3/4 of the car clear as they go into turn 3, and he should be able to complete the pass, and, well, maybe not. We'll see. Looks like he'll be able to hang on to it, though. Yes, he'll be able to slide up, and he'll take that spot away from Justin Lisenby. And Tim Matthews in that 54 University of Kentucky machine might go underneath the 33 here, looking for that next spot as they go into turn 1.
When you talk about some of the other intermediate racetracks they're going to be seeing coming up for the calendar, Atlanta, Chicago, Kentucky, Homestead, the next 4 to round through to the championship race where it's that 4-driver winner-take-all. Charlotte, with those 24 degrees of bank, it allows for this kind of excited racing, and I doubt that this first 17 laps or so is only going to be exclusive to the start of the race. We expect to see this kind of stuff continue as the night goes on. Matthews, the next driver, side by side with Lisenby. They'll do the dance for the number 3 spot, but again, when these guys first started to battle for second, James, it was just those two. It was Jeff Ward and Justin Lisenby. But because these side-by-side battles aren't one turn and done, they've been going 3, 4, sometimes laps at a time, it's allowed so many other drivers to get into the mix here. You got the 33, the 8, the 14, and that 54 Matthews, who's really a big beneficiary because he's inside of the top 3 for the first time tonight with that move he just completed.
Well, we'll see, because we got guys coming. Chad Cole was there for a moment. Bobby Terrell looks like he's going to be able to get underneath the 8. Looks like maybe the 8 got loose or something in the quad oval. Couldn't quite tell what happened there with him, but Terrell was able to get around Chad Cole, so move Terrell up a spot. He'll go hunting after Lisenby, who in turn is hunting after that number 54 of Tim Matthews. As they go into 3, Lisenby found the bottom after he'd been stuck on the top for a few laps, racing Jeff Ward. Now maybe he can get that position back that he just lost a few laps ago.
This single file line is not going to be uncommon to find tonight. Maybe not the side-by-side that we've seen so far, but in a position where you take EJ O'Rourke, for example, you make one mistake and you can lose 3, 4 positions just one time around the racetrack because everybody's so tied up. But at the moment, they are single-filed out. The top 2 have broken away, though, 1.2 seconds to the positive for both William Hale and Jeff Ward. Jeff Ward really didn't get a shot at that 62 earlier on in this one because, again, Lisenby, who started on the inside of row 2 and 3rd, was able to get up to the bottom of him on lap 1, quickly make that pass. So Jeff Ward, for the first time, is having an opportunity to do something for the race lead. Took a higher line that time in 1 and 2. Cost him some time, but right now, he, William Hale, in their own zip code in 1 and 2.
I think Jeff might be searching for a line and searching for something that works for him if we get into a long green flag run. But I can't say I'm totally surprised to see him up here because he was close to the win at Texas and only lost it on that final pit stop. Was able to win at Vegas, had a little bit of trouble at Michigan, but Jeff Ward's consistently been strong. If not for a little bit of bad luck, he probably would be in the chase at the moment. So no shocker to see him up there, and he may well just have the fastest car on track because he just shaved another 10 off of William Hale's lead that last time by.
Couple of battles going on throughout the pack. That 10, John Abbott, right in the thick of things as well. He's doing a battle with Eric Arnold. These are a couple of names that we've already been talking about a couple of times tonight. It's back around that 14th position. They single-filed out for a moment, but that third one of Eric Arnold elected to not come down, protect the bottom, rode the high line, and really tight that time off of the corner. Had to check it way back up. It allows Abbott, the 42 of Stenzel, and the 2 of Mike Kelly all to get on by. So a tough break for the Navy Duke, who drops back to P18. It's the lowest he's been all night so far.
You got to watch your exit of turn 4 here in Charlotte because it closes up so much on corner exit that sometimes it can sneak up on you, and I wonder if that might have been the case in that situation. You have to be careful, and if you let off the throttle a little bit, you can get freight trained and lose 2 or 3 spots just like that.
Issues with Jeff Favignano. We noted not all that long ago that he was tied as one of the biggest movers on track for going +6, and that was when he started 23rd, and at the moment he was running 17th. Since then, -16. He has fallen back to 33rd position. The car doesn't appear to be damaged, but he has definitely fallen off of the pace so far to this point. He is now a total of 15.6 seconds off of the number 1 position, really just showing you how quickly the tides can change.
Yeah, if you don't have your car set up well at all, you would think that with all this grip, and especially with all these lights here, that maybe you have a little bit of luck with the setup. But if you really miss it here at Charlotte, especially at the nighttime, it just seems like things go from bad to worse very, very quickly. And unfortunately for Favignano, that looks like exactly what's happened.
Battle due up back inside of the top 5. Here comes Bobby Terrell, somebody who historically is known as somebody who likes to pounce late in these races. Looking to go +1 on the night. Drives it up to the inside of Justin Lisenby, who has been continuing to fall after he peaked at P2. At lap number 1, he's now dropped back to 4th, and it could be worse because right now he's getting help from David Comstock. The 40 gives him a push off to 3, but with this many cars grouped up behind him, not good news.
You got to try and find a way to get down to the bottom as fast as you can, I think, if you're Lisenby, because his car just doesn't look like it's hooking up well when he gets stuck out to the top side. That being said, though, he got a pretty good run off of the corner. Was able to hang on to that spot there, and it looks like David Comstock's going to try and make that high lane work and get around Terrell and move up a spot himself.
He'll slice to the inside. Nice move. 33 pushed up off of the corner. Tried to shut the outside off. And at 40 at Comstock had enough space between the back bumper of that 33 and the front of the 14. Swoop to the inside, and he's got the position at corner number 4. David Comstock, a characteristically beautiful move off of corner number 2. Going to move him into P4 for the first time tonight. He may now be one of the biggest movers on the night. Started 13. He's +9 up to P4.
A great example there, I think, of patient racing. Evan Comstock waited in that pack. He knew if he picked his spots correctly, he'd have his chance to make his way through that mess of Lisenby and Terrell and Cole. Was able to slide all around them, and just like that, David Comstock is in 4th and only 3 seconds behind the leader, Jeff Ward.
Almost 30 laps complete tonight for the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We still run with 36 of those 37 drivers on the lead lap, and only driver to fall off of the lead lap so far is Mike Kelly. Number 2 machine appears to still be in good running condition, but much like Jeff Favignano, somebody who started up in the teens, started 19th, running 37th, not exactly where he wants to be at the moment. The gaps now are starting to inflate just a little bit as these guys try to find a spot in line and maybe ride for just a little bit. Outside of the battle between Terrell and now that 26 behind Jose Gonzalez, the Meatball Mobile coming up the inside and try to make it a battle inside of the top 10. You are starting to see these gaps increase. William Hale was all over the charge while Jeff Ward was able to take away the race lead from him, and now he is running away to the good of 0.5 of a second. Then you got to look 2 seconds back to the driver in 3rd. That's Tim Matthews. Matthews has a second advantage over David Comstock and 4th behind to the guys inside of the top 5. Really starting to separate the guys at the back half of the top 10. Not the case. 2 wide, 2 rows deep this time by with that group of drivers around P6.
Maybe not a surprise to see Justin Lisenby heading up this pack, but you've got a whole mess of guys right there. Bobby Terrell, Jose Gonzalez side by side. Behind them, Brian Macklin and Chad Cole side by side. Just seems like if you get around that 6th or 7th position all night long, Evan, it's been 2 wide, and it's just been 2 drivers there the entire race.
And the outside is not extremely disadvantaged. And you know, we've seen a lot of guys make passes on both the bottom and the top. So any other racetrack, somebody gets you side by side, or in most cases, they get to your inside, force you to the top. It's one and done, no questions about it. You get the pass done. But you see as this battle continues on, again, all of this started out, these guys were more spread apart, ironically enough, 5 laps into the race than they are right now, and that's because they were single filed out. But these side-by-side battles, because both lanes are an option, allows these battles to continue, as I mentioned, for 3-4 laps at a time. Look at this. How about 3 wide, 2 rows deep that time off of corner number 4? Everything up for grabs from about P5 on back.
Everybody fighting hard for positions. Macklin looks like he's been able to get clear. Gonzalez gets clear of Lisenby. Now Macklin's going to go underneath Lisenby and try and take that spot in a 3. Everybody just still stuck in a wad. Nobody able to get away from them, or get away from one another, rather. And while they've been fighting, you look at the likes of William Hale and Tim Matthews and David Comstock, all of a sudden they've opened up 2 seconds plus on this group of guys fighting for 5th and 6th and 7th on back.
Jose Gonzalez at the front of the freight train at the moment. Lisenby slow in the corner. The 03 of Macklin tried to squeeze through on the bottom. Just ran out of space. He checked it up as well. A smart move for being just 34 of 125 laps into this one. I can bet you if we do that again at about 60, 70 laps from now, they won't be as gracious. You see these guys continue. Pick up a spot here, then lose 2 spots the next lap. It is going to be a repeating thing as the night goes on. They just can't seem to get away from each other. But as the 33 and the 03 do battle, Macklin actually intentionally seeking out the outside of the racetrack this time. And 1 and 2, but he got out of shape and he's in the fence. hard into the wall. He gives it a scratch. He's going to lose a lot of speed. He'll dive down to the apron to get out of the way. And although he didn't nail the wall too hard, it was in a tricky part of the racetrack, and it looks like that's going to be it for him as he dives down out of the way and gets out of the way. A tough break for Brian Macklin. He was intentionally going up on the outside, James, and hard to tell if he just clipped the right rear quarter panel of the 33, or maybe that car pushed up off of the hill off of the corner as he got back to the gas a little bit too soon, but it knocked him out of his rhythm, and at that point, by the time he got to the apron, he had already lost 8 positions, and the 03 is done for the night just like that.
I think it was a combination of both. Lisenby went low and gave Macklin the high side there, so Macklin trying to make the best of the situation and get some momentum up on the high side to try and get a run off of turn 2, and I think you're right. I think they made contact, and Macklin just touched that right rear quarter panel of Lisenby and went up the hill and just wasn't able to gather it. And just like that, when you're traveling 150, 160 miles an hour, the smallest of incidents like that can completely ruin your night. And just like that, Brian Macklin is out of tonight's event at Charlotte.
If we asked the 03 team about it, I'm sure they would disagree, but if there's any kind of incident you want to have on track, it's that one. It's set up to really be a mess off of quarter number 2. If somebody gets up into the fence and then they bounce down in front of traffic, things can get out of hand quickly. It was a good piece of driving by Macklin to get out of the gas, check it up, and although he still made contact with the wall, was able to stay up there and then navigate that car back down safely. And although we do have now one driver out of the race, and we were able to avoid an incident, we stay green.
Yeah, that little incident seems to have an almost calming effect on that back, because they were all bunched up and side by side, and now you look at it, and Lisenby and Bobby Terrell and Chad Cole and everybody all just kind of clicking along as Mike Kelly comes along underneath, makes a move under Bobby Terrell, hunting for another position.
These guys are going to be very familiar with each other by the end of the night. That 33, Justin Lisenby, still in it. Talking about guys who have maybe already trickled down to the pit lane and gotten service. Mike Kelly, you see, quickly working around Chad Cole. Chad Cole scored 6th on the racetrack. Mike Kelly scored 27 on the racetrack. The 2 machine has already been down pit road for service earlier on in this one. In fact, a handful of drivers have began to trickle down to the pit lane, with at least 6 drivers now 1 lap down, another 5 drivers 2 laps down by coming down to the pit lane. Obviously, that's going to cost you time at a racetrack, but they're all losing those laps mainly because, well, the guys up front have not yet decided and committed to coming down to the pit lane. Jeff Ward still out there in control. Really nobody from the top 10 has decided to make that dive quite yet, as lap number 40 now goes into the books, just about the 1/3 marker.
I will challenge you on that statement, because the 14 of Bobby Terrell made that hard left pull to pit road as soon as you said that. So Terrell, and it looks like a few others, that's Dwayne Vincent, who comes in from a little bit outside the top 10, but some of your big names finally coming down to pit road for their first stops of the night, Evan.
And you do see that a lot. Often the guys, maybe 1 or 2, start to trickle down, and here comes Jeff Ward. It's typically when the race leader comes down that everybody else will start to flood down to the pit lane. William Hale is going to assume the race lead from Charlotte, but Jeff Ward, race leader, down pit road for the first time tonight. He's got a long trip down to the pit lane to the number 2 pit stall after qualifying 2nd on the night. He's got a couple of other guys from inside of the top 10 that are going to be accompanying him down under the pit lane soon, but the Don is able to navigate that car into the box. Service going to go right side tires on the Belkin Chevrolet. Crew going to come over to the left side. They will go 4 tires, gas, and go. And William Hale, who just reassumed the race lead, comes right in the lap afterwards at lap number 42.
Looks like all of the leaders who started to come down to pit road get service and tires. Looks like Jeff Ward had a clean pit stop, so we'll watch the 62 of William Hale, who started on the pole for tonight's race. Everything looks clean as he comes into the box. No problems there. He has that long trip down pit road, Evan, but if you're a driver, you don't necessarily mind a long trip like that, because 9 times out of 10 on this sim, if you've got to go all the way down to the end, it means you qualified pretty well, and it means that if we end up with a late race caution and we need to come down to pit road, that little extra space, you might be able to gain a spot or 2, and it might make all the difference.
Yeah, those caution flag pit stops is where those top couple of positions really come in handy. David Comstock had stayed out to assume the top spot. Now he's down to the pit lane and into the stall of the number 40 machine, back in pit stall number 13 after he qualified in that position, and we assume that the strategy going to be the same as we have for everybody else, really, 4 tires. Also on pit road, Michael Waters and other drivers. You also have Brian Chambliss just now exiting the pit lane. A couple of the guys down on the apron. Shane Ewing just got out of the pit lane very quickly. Things are going to have cycled through very fast. That 54, Tim Matthews, though, has now assumed the race lead. Look at the 9 go. That's old tires versus fresh. That's a lap car, albeit the driver who was leading, Jeff Ward, passing your current race leader, Tim Matthews. You cannot deny that fresh tires are a blessing, and with that, the 54, it almost scared me. He's coming down pit road.
Wouldn't be surprised if you're right about that. And there you are, right on cue. Tim Matthews will bring that 54 in for service. Ward will go hunting for more positions. I believe that means Jose Gonzalez is the last driver that needs to come down to pit road to complete this cycle of pit stops. And it looks like maybe Mike Kelly might assume the race lead for a little bit, though he'll probably be under fire from Jeff Ward not for too long. But a lot of crazy things happening. Pit cycles tend to shake everything up just a little bit at Charlotte.
Yep, 54 car going to come down and in, and this is really where, as we saw to see the separation on the racetrack time-wise just before this really came through, pit stops always spread each other apart. Gonzalez going to be able to get down the pit road, albeit not without a slide. He almost came in just a little bit too hot off of quarter number 4. 26 is going to be down pit road. The next driver, as you take a look at, Eric Arnold, may just be cycling through to the race lead in that number 31 Ford Mustang. He's P2 at the moment, mainly because the 26 was on the pit lane, but crossed the start-finish line ahead of him. But I do think Eric Arnold is going to go to the point. Then maybe Mike Kelly and Joey Jattina. Joey Jattina going to come down pit road this time, so maybe 2 drivers tops yet to come down pit road. It does look like, though, that the highest running driver who has already completed service is Jeff Ward, so he should cycle back through to the number 1 position. We'll see.
Yeah, Mike Kelly doing a very Mike Kelly thing, short pitting to get the lead. He tried to make that work at Homestead in the Full Throttle Cup Series finale back in November. He's decided to pull the same card out again at Charlotte, so we'll see what happens. It all will depend, I think, on where the cautions fly based off where he started, because you know Jeff Ward's going to be quick on fresh tires, and he'll be able to run down that 2 car a little bit. But if we get a caution in the right spot, Kelly can come down pit road, and all of a sudden he's gained 5 or 6 spots just off of pit strategy alone.
He pitted very early in this race, around lap number 27 or so is when he got those fresh tires on. So while everybody else was out there with the tier rating tires, he was out with new tires and running some good laps. The disadvantage to that, though, is now he is at the tire disadvantage. And if everybody decides to pit at about the same time that they did this time on a second stint, it's looking like it's going to be about a 2-stop race. The 2 machine slides up in front of the 9, tries to shut the door. It's not going to work out. Jeff Ward to the inside. They'll go side by side for second, and he's got it. Not yet. Your new race leader, though, Eric Arnold, in that 31, still holds that position.
So Arnold will stick out and he will lose time, but there's the chance he gains it all back if we get a yellow again. It's just a strategy game that you're playing at this point with 50 laps complete. You don't really know what's going to happen, but sometimes worth it to roll the dice. We'll just have to see.
And they're not going to really be able to get a good look at how this strategy is going to play out until the quote-unquote normal strategy is to complete its second stop. But Eric Arnold is going to dive down to the pit lane this time. That'll put Jeff Ward back to the point with now 50 laps in our first cycle of green flag pit stops complete from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We'll take this quick opportunity to step aside, and we will come right back to Concord, North Carolina on the other end. You're watching LSRTV's continuing coverage of the 2016-2017 Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series, presented by Hippie's Paint Shop. Jeff Ward, your race leader at lap number 51.
So cool, yeah. Nate, what are you working on at the moment?
So I'm working on the animation for the game. We're working on getting pit crews fully developed, and that involves a lot of moving parts. So I'm going in and making sure that each moving part can dovetail smoothly into the next one, so that when you pull in for a pit stop, it looks like the real thing, as opposed to a bunch of jumbled pieces that suddenly stop and then go and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's so cool, but why aren't you working on the time model? Nothing?
We're back live from the Charlotte Motor Speedway, just 5 laps past since we were last with you. No changes northbound on the scoring pylon. Jeff Ward still in the number 1 spot, trailed by William Hale, Mike Kelly, David Comstock, and Chad Cole inside of the top 5. We're closing in on the halfway point. When we do, we'll take a look top to bottom at your iRacing Midway Race Break. Tonight's coverage of the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series, as always, brought to you in part by Hippie's Paint Shop. Hippie's Paint Shop has over 5 years of providing top quality custom paint schemes for all iRacing vehicles at a low price, because after all, at Hippie's Paint Shop, the cost isn't high, just the painter. 57 laps into the works at this moment. James clean and green from the drop of the first American Ethanol green flag of the night. Jeff Ward didn't start P1. In fact, he took a -1 on lap number 1 after he was surpassed by the driver who started third in Justin Lisenby. But with this race having a very green flag run atmosphere to it, and obviously going caution-free so far, the 9 has undeniably looked like the best car on the long runs. He's stretched out to a 2.3-second advantage over second at the moment.
Meanwhile, you got William Hale, who's had a pretty quick car, started on pole, has been right up there, and I think he's just kind of been in that little bubble. He's been just kind of riding around in space, in relatively clean air, not necessarily having to worry about anything, and I think for the moment, he'll take that. So 62 will be in P2, and then that third car, David Comstock, done a really nice job. Started 13th, has come up 10 spots since the drop of the green flag, currently finds him in third position. Mike Kelly, short pitted, came up from 19th, is currently up 15 spots in the 4th spot, but dropping a little bit since he's on older tires than everybody else. Chad Cole in the 8 car rounds out the top 5.
There's a lot of guys a lap down. We noted that handful of drivers had fallen 1 to 2 laps down through the cycle of pit stops, but now 24th through 34th. 11 cars right now, 1 lap off of the lead lap. The good news is, though, we still only have just that one retiree so far. 37th position, and rounding things out, Brian Backlund 24 laps down. We saw his contact into the turn 2 wall, which led to that problem. There's a couple of battles on the racetrack that we'll talk about as we want to welcome Austin Coop back topside with us at the LSRTV booth. Coop, we got a couple of battles here and there, despite the fact that there's 2 and some odd seconds between first and second, and nearly 6 seconds between second and third. Plenty of battles going on behind. Chad Cole, Tim Matthews for 4th, Bobby Terrell, Mike Kelly for 6th, and in fact Matthews just got P4 from Cole that last time.
Yeah, I was watching that battle just a little bit ago, and it appears that Matthews has a little bit of fresher tires, and that car is pretty flying right at this point. He got around Cole, and then he just kept trucking, and at this point, Cole's still under fire. Terrell is going to go right under him, and he's going to get that top 5 position here coming out of turn 4. And it looks like Cole, I would assume he pitted a little earlier than some of these guys, and so he's paying the price at this point. Not exactly a bad decision to do that kind of thing, but he is losing a few spots here.
Things are much more densely packed the further down the list you go. 3 cars battling about P10. You've got A.J. Browning in front of him, the number 13, a lap car. In between he and E.J. O'Rourke, who is just that 1 spot in front of Browning and for P9. So despite the fact that Charlotte is a relatively large racetrack at 1.5 miles in length, we're not necessarily talking about a small track, although really we haven't been to any on this Icebreaker Winter Series campaign. The smallest tracks that we've been to have been these 1.5 mile racetracks. There is going to be a lot of this. Race leaders navigating around those lap cars. Especially, we saw a lot of that, James, during the cycle of pit stops when you had guys on old tires and fresh tires. You would think that the longer into these races we get, the likelihood of this race going green all the way continues to bounce back up, but some of the biggest issues can arise from when you see all of these lap cars navigating around lead lap guys, especially when battles for position are going on.
seems like Charlotte is one of those deceptively big tracks. You know, we talk about these sorts of things as Mike Kelly comes down to pit road here for service. So we'll see that short pitting strategy in action once again. He'll pay for it by having to make another stop here. But, you know, you look at this place and you think that it's got racing room like Atlanta and maybe a Chicagoland and a Michigan and a Fontana. And then all of a sudden you get to green flag stages like this, Evan, where you've got lap down cars racing lead lap cars. And it just seems like every once in a while they kind of close up on one another and all of a sudden there's just no room and something crazy happens.
The interesting thing we're going to have to note about Mike Kelly is, again, he pulled the short pit card out that first time, came down, and this is really the halfway point in this race. So this is looking like the two machine not only just trying to out short pit everybody else at a first stint, but if he goes the same amounts as he has gone every single run from this point on, he's got one more trip down to the pit lane. It is going to be, at least it appears, a 3-stop strategy for Mike Kelly. Vastly unpopular compared to the bulk of guys who have shown so far tonight, based on their pitting at around lap 40 and a little bit further on, that they are going to decide to try to make this on 2 stops at about 40 laps every single time. With that being said, we just crossed the halfway point in tonight's race. We'll take a look at our iRacing, the midway race break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game with professionally organized racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, and many more. Jeff Ward continues to navigate the open seas, 3.6 seconds in front of William Hale. David Comstock, in fact, closing that gap in between second and third. He's 6.7 seconds off of the top spot in P3. Tim Matthews started fourth. It's exactly where he runs at the moment. Chad Cole +2 inside of the top 5. Bobby Terrell has dropped back 1 position to run in 6th at the moment. Justin Lisenby, who was at some points in this race a challenger for the race lead, at the lowest he's been on a green flag stretch tonight in 7th spot. EJ O'Rourke has recovered vastly up to P8. Behind him, AJ Brownie now is 9th, and Jose Gonzalez, our final driver, inside of the top 10.
In the 11th spot, you'll find a familiar character, Dwayne Vincent. Scott Simley currently is in the 12th position. It's Scott Stenzel, who's in 13th. The 55 of Michael Wanners currently runs 14th. 15th belongs to that McDonald's Ford Mustang of Gerald Campbell. 16th to the number 10 of John Abbott. Doug Roth in that 43 machine currently runs 17th. Shane Ewing in the 32 is in 18th. The 19th belongs to the 77 of James Nunn. Last car on the lead lap, and rounding out the top 20 first car lap down is the 95 of Jeffrey Ford.
And right behind him, Scott Warren is in 21st. Another lap down. A lot of these cars are going to be a lap down here. Steve Devak is going to be 22nd. Eric Arnold, relegate him to 22nd right there. David Batone, he's in 23rd. We're seeing some pit stops, so these might not be 100% accurate. Joey Gattina, 24th. Bobby Wetzel, 25th. Jeffrey Ford, he's in 26th. Joe Hudson, 27th. Now 28th, and switch him with Mike Kelly. Alan Rowell, 29th. Jeffrey Ford now 30th. Mike Franklin, 31st. Jeff Faviano, 32nd. Douglas Wyatt, 33rd. Brian Chambliss, 34th. John Fowler, 35th. Josh Cheney, 36th. And Ryan Macklin, another disastrous day, starting up in 9th, is all the way back in 37th.
To look top to bottom at your iRacing Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com and sign up today. And you can still use our LSRTV promo code. They've yet to kill it, so take advantage of it while you can. PR-2016 LSRTV still works. It is when you register for a new iRacing membership. You're going to get the NASCAR late model absolutely free of charge. It'll go nice along with the 13 cars and 14 tracks that are also included with the first time iRacing subscription. Again, that is PR-2016 LSRTV. That is still valid on new iRacing memberships only. Just like that, as Jeff Ward takes lap number 73, opens up another second over William Hale. We sit right on the cusp of what could be the second and final trip down to the pit lane for our race leaders. James, we saw the first guys come in at around lap 40. We're about 7 laps away from reaching that lap 80 marker, which would basically, right on the money mark, about 2/3 in this race.
Yeah, I figure we'll probably start seeing a lot of folks come down pit road, and I think especially if you're up there near the front, you haven't really had any issues, been green for pretty much the entirety of the race. Brian Macklin really the only incident of note during this race. So you just pray that nothing crazy happens on pit road and you don't have a rogue crazy tire go away and cost you a second or two and lose you a few spots, because this late in the going, that can be devastating. It could kill your chance to win and not necessarily be something of your doing.
I think we're going to see a battle for P2 here very quickly. Not sure if it's going to come before or after the cycle of pit stops hits, but again, Hale was about 2 seconds and change, closer to 3 seconds by the time that we got through that first cycle of pit stops, Coop, and David Comstock at that moment was nearly 8 seconds back. Since then, William Hale has dropped 2 seconds off of the race leader. David Comstock has gained 2 seconds to the race leader. I don't think there's enough time in this race for David Comstock to be able to make up those additional 6.2 seconds, but he's only 1.4 off of William Hale now. The 62, I'm sure, is sweating looking in the rearview mirror. Comstock's really been on it. 4th best in practice. We had talked a little bit earlier on in this race about guys out qualifying where maybe they're going to be over the course of the race, and on the opposite end, guys not getting qualifying that they wanted. He had to start back in 13th. He's gone up to P3, all under green. That 40 has been looking pretty sporty, and the last time by was faster than our race leader by about a 10th and a half.
And, you know, I was just about to say that there, Evan, that he is actually catching the leader and Hale. Of course, Hale's not an easy competitor to pass, and so he won't be able to keep that 6-second differential between the leader. And, of course, these pit stops are going to be essential as well. But he will catch Hale before these pit stops, whether he gets him or has to try and contest against him. Hale's such a good competitor up in the very early stages of a run. He's so quick, so fast. And now he's going to start losing it, kind of characteristic of Hale. But nonetheless, he's still in second place, still trying to hold himself still together there in second place. Comstock is a coming though, not as quick last time for Comstock, but he's still running that leader down, as well as he took 2/10 off of him and then 4 off of Hale in front of him. And right now you're going to see some lap cars passing as well. David Nance, he's making his way around, and it looks like Fabiano as well is going to try and get their laps back here shortly. It looks a little dicey. These lap cars are trying to pass each other as well. Don't forget about that.
The 40 stuck up on the outside of the racetrack as all of this goes on. Again, these guys with the better tires coming up the bottom. The 62 is also going to be forced out to the outside of the racetrack. Maybe Comstock going to try to use this to his advantage, because the 62 has to navigate the lap traffic in the center of the quarter. The 35 took a little bit more time than maybe the 62 was hoping to get by, but Gerald Campbell, Jeff Fabiano, and David Nance are all able to safely navigate their way on by. And now we get to watch the battle for the number 2 position on the racetrack. 4th place is over 10 seconds behind the top spot, and William Hale going to make a last-second decision to dive down to the pit lane, James, following Jeff Ward, your race leader, down.
Never one to shy away from hard driving is William Hale. And every time you see him run on track, you know you're going to get a show of some form, because William Hale, maybe more than just about anybody else in this series, will drive 110% no matter what happens. But clean stop, clean drive into his pit stall. No issues for the 62 so far. Jeff Ward looking clean as well. Ward will get away. Hale getting those left side Goodyear Eagles on that car, and he should be off in pit road momentarily. There he goes. So William Hale resumes his chase of Jeff Ward to try and get that lead and get the win.
Comstock, no doubt, follows them down to the pit lane this time, so the 40 is in 1 lap after they were. These guys should be able to make it to the end of this race on this tank of gas as they take it with about 40 laps on this stint, and they'll get back out on track with about 44 laps to go in this race. Does that 1 lap of a difference, though, benefit Comstock, or is it going to benefit Hale? Hale got those fresh tires just a little bit quicker. Comstock, in theory, will have the better tires when he gets back out there, but by just 1 lap, I think William Hale's last-second decision to dive down to the pit lane might have been the better call. We'll see as the 40 works his way back out on track. How about a pass on the apron? Comstock not slouching. He'll pass 2 drivers getting back out onto the racetrack. Hale just going to sneak by him.
And he knew that was coming up. He knew Hale was going to be there without a doubt. And Hale has to make his way through the traffic. Oh, he actually nudges him. He nudges, it looks like the 36 of Steve Vivak right there, and moves him out of the way, basically. He's trying to navigate these traffic now, as they were trying to navigate him just a second ago. So that was a very close call. Made sure he got out of the way. And yeah, just like the 62 and the 40 earlier, and this time they're obviously much closer. Hale is now 1 lap down tires, but knowing the way William drives, spotting for him before, I know that he's such a quick driver on these short runs, and look how close he gets to Matthews, trying to get everything he has, and now the battle is there. I don't know. Wow, he put him in the wall there for a little bit, I would say.
Sideways, the right side scraped the fence, the sparks were flying, and David Comstock, I bet you that right foot did not lift at all. He'll get to the back bumper again, and I think that even though the 62, in my opinion, James, made the better strategy call, I just think David Comstock is too fast at the moment, and it looks like the 40 has no intentions of going down quietly either.
Yeah, you would think that William Hale's last second duck would have been the best move in theory. I also wonder if Comstock is racing harder and pushing that car harder than normal at the moment, trying to get around Hale. Maybe he thinks that if he lets this go and maybe doesn't get around him immediately, waits towards the middle of the end of this run, maybe he won't have a chance. I don't know. There are a lot of variables that can come into play here. We just have to watch and see which ones play out in favor of Hale or Comstock.
At the moment, these are the final two cars on the lead lap. They run in 8th and 9th at the moment. Everybody in front of them, with the exception of the driver who is going to be in the number 1 position when this thing is all said and done. You've got Tim Matthews, who has cycled through to the race lead. You've got Jeff Ward, Shane Ewing, Eric Arnold, Mike Kelly. Those are the drivers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 at the moment. Again, still awaiting some of these guys to come down and take some service before they hit pit road for the final time. What they're basically doing at the moment, Coop, is you see your race leaders actually coming to buy them at the moment, rather than the guys at the back of the lead lap with Hale and Comstock and friends with that 62 machine. Is these guys who have yet to pit, I think they're kind of hoping out for a yellow, maybe get a yellow flag, everybody come down to the pit lane. Next thing you know, they end up inside of the top 5. But if that's going to work out for them, it has to happen soon, as the 40 of Comstock going to go to the inside, side by side for what right now is P6, and he got him.
Yeah, and the 62 of Hale did not let it go easily, and he's still kind of still trying to show the nose there. I don't think he has the car at this point, though that one lap of fresher tires is going to actually best him at this point. I know, knowing him, that's a hard position for him to give up, but also knowing him, he's just going to try and make the best of what he's got. He really wants to win one of these races, and even the top 5 is sometimes not satisfactory for Hale, but he'll take what he has and keep marching forward. And like you were talking about with the tire strategy, or the pit strategy, I should say, for some of these guys, drivers like Mike Kelly are really looking for a caution to really save them. At this point, some of these drivers don't have to pit again. Kelly might, and that, or I think that's right. I might be wrong, but Kelly will at least have to come down pit road one more time, and he's losing a lot of ground on these guys behind him.
It appears to be based on the strategy that Kelly is going to have to come back down to the pit lane one more time. This battle, though, between the 40 and the 62 is not done yet. The road is shutting down in front of him in the 24 with a very courteous move. Brian Chambliss dives out of the way. The 40 thanks him over the radio because despite the fact that David Comstock got the job done, he is now in second. William Hale is behind him in third, and everybody has cycled back through as Jeff Ward reclaims the number 1 position. And William Hale now, the driver who's not going down without a fight.
I think he might have taken a few cues from Comstock. Maybe they're thinking, we've got 20 laps, 30 laps to go. Rather, might be time to get on the gas and go. So I'm thinking that this is a bit of a reactionary move from Hale after Comstock got by him. We'll see what happens here, but no doubt this is the best battle up in the top 5, maybe the best battle on track at the moment, Evan.
40 going to slide high, that time off of the corner. It's a big run for William Hale, but not enough to get inside of positioning to the corner. He flashed the nose, at least allowed David Comstock to think about it, but then it ended up going through on the pass. He'll continue to ride behind in third. When these guys caught each other, I was talking about how they kind of met in the middle at about 5-6 seconds off of the back of Jeff Ward. Well, they've been having so much fun, you could say, doing this, that Jeff Ward's enjoying it too. He can't see the battle, but this battle for second place has added another 3 seconds onto his gap. These guys are nowhere near him now as they continue to fight 8-point-some-odd seconds off of the top spot, and lap traffic going to be a factor once again. Comstock goes high on the 13, a roadblock in front of him, though. They're too wide. He's got nowhere to go. Here comes William Hale with an opportunity.
You can't try and split them in the middle because you have no idea where they're going to go. And so he goes to the bottom right there, Comstock there, and he'll see where this other lap car goes as well. And he's not exactly where he wants him to go. That's not That's not a courteous really move as a lap car. You have to make a decision, and they were kind of running in the middle there. So Comstock on the outside line still has the position, and I think if William Hale really wanted to take advantage of that, he would have. And there's a caution. Guys. We'll get it on in a second. Yeah, caution flag's coming out. We'll see where it's at.
Maybe about 5 laps too late for those guys who were staying out and hoping that a caution flag would give them an opportunity at this one, but there is a yellow at lap number 93 of 125 on the night, and that 8-point-some-odd second gap ended up being 8.4 by the time the caution flag came out. We'll get eyes on the replay, hearing maybe issues with the 17 out of the 31 machine as well may be involved in this one. Eric Arnold is down to the pit lane with damage, and in fact, that may involve the 31 machine. Eric Arnold had just completed service. He spun it out, coming out of pit road. That is the cause of the caution. He has claimed it, but I think the bigger story in this is not the damage on Eric Arnold's machine, James. It is Jeff Ward, who has driven his way up and pulled away. Now, that gap completely erased, and we'll probably be seeing these guys on pit lane this time by as they catch up to the pace car.
I would imagine that if I'm Jeff Ward, I might be sitting on my wheel and pounding away in frustration because he had a almost 8-second lead on David Comstock and William Hale, and that is all wiped out. This is what I was talking about earlier. Here's your late race caution and your chance to come down pit road as Jeff Ward leads the field, leads everybody down, but this could be the money stop. It might be the last time we get down on a pit road, so if it gets screwed up here, you might not have a chance to make it up.
This is going to save Mike Kelly because he was due for one more trip down to the pit lane on what we were assuming was going to become a 3-stop strategy. He had yet to pit. He was running in 5th. He's now on the even strategy as everybody else. But Jeff Ward, first driver in into pit stall number 2. You see the 62 of William Hale come down to pit stall number 1 as he ran in 3rd. Does anybody decide to go with 2 tires to mix things up? The 9, he wants 4 tires, gas, and go. He's going to be uncontested off of the pit lane. Jeff Ward retains control.
Yeah, and it's going to be almost the same way off and on. It looks like Tim Matthews may have taken a gamble. We're going to have to take a second look. Either that or he got a really good pit stop. I think he came in 7th, and he looks like he's 4th at the moment. I'm getting confirmation Tim Matthews took 2 tires, so he's going to be on the outside of row number 2 here, and that could pay off, or it could really hurt him in the long run. Long run, we know it's going to hurt, but if he hopes that there's a couple cautions between here, we know the saying cautions breed cautions. We're not in that little the situation yet, but that could be what he's hoping for.
And just like that, the entire complexion of this race changes. Jeff Ward going to maintain the top spot. We'll take this opportunity to take a quick caution flag of our own. We'll step aside and go LSRTV non-stop so you don't miss a moment of the action. When we come back, a late race restart inside of 30 laps to go as Jeff Ward tries to hang on. You're watching the 2016-2017 Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series presented by Hippie's Paint Shop on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing. Welcome back live to Concord, North Carolina. Wave around's going to go by this time as we get set for what may be just one of many late race restarts tonight for the Charlotte Motor Speedway. A caution flag after nearly 100 laps of uninterrupted action. Going to give us a restart with about 28 laps to go tonight. Jeff Ward still in control, but instead of being 8 seconds in front of David Comstock, the difference is going to be a side-by-side battle coming off of quarter number 4 as we head towards the green flag. Could it be for the final time tonight? Everybody grouped back up with 24 cars at the moment, scored on the lead lap. Pace car down and away. American Ethanol. Green flag flies. We're back underway, and a good jump for the 9 team.
Really, really, really good jump for Jeff Ward. Was able to get clear of David Comstock. Just in trouble in the back of the field. I think that's Justin Lisenby that went around. Comes up the track, hits somebody. Yep, there's the yellow.
Yeah, 33 it doesn't listen to me, just like you said.
It looked like they might have got away with it. There was a contact off to 1. They went 3 wide, and again, you could argue that the 26 of Jose Gonzalez should have backed out of it, and he's the one that initiates the contact, no less. But this is kind of what you have to come to expect with a restart inside of 30 to go. And he spun on the apron coupe, thought we were good, but it's when he came back up above that white line, but there was nowhere for David Nance to go, and that was a big hit.
Oh, that was a day-ending one for him. For Justin Lisenby, he has a ton of rear-end damage, but it's not going to ruin his night. I would come down pit road and expect him to come down pit road and get that fixed for sure, or maybe not. He's on the lead lap, but there's now 24 cars. At one point, we only had 8, so that's going to be a lot of spots to lose. He's in 18th still after having all that contact, but I think just a lot of aggressive driving on this restart. We talk a lot about how these restarts are where you can get the most positions or lose the most positions in those 2 drivers. I think you could say it was one driver in the wrong or the other, but I think in the end, tomorrow we'd say it's hard driving if you're looking at it. Just those 2 drivers wanting that position, and one wanted the position, wanted on the bottom, wanted to protect it, and one just went a little too far.
You look at the contact change, and I think it's safe to say that, there's a car who initiates the contact, but context is important. You show a replay of that at lap number 7, and I think that you'd rightfully question it. You look at that at lap number 97, and I don't think you're really surprised. I think this is not going to be the first bit of contact like that we may see here late in these races. Typically, the trends tend to be you get a lot of yellows, maybe the first 30, 40 laps. You get that green flag stretch in the middle, and then you get a lot of yellows at the end. Well, we bypass that opening stint, so we could very well get a restart here with 23, 22 laps to go and go green all the way. But the numbers say that we're going to go through the dance a couple of times.
All right, so if you'll bring out the numbers and do your best Larry McReynolds impersonation, I suppose it's then my responsibility to do a very decent Darrell Waltrip impersonation and bring up a very favorite phrase of his, which I think is very applicable in this case, because cautions do breed cautions. And for guys back where Jose Gonzalez and Justin Lisenby were in the field, you have to start making your way towards the front now if you want any shot at a good finish or any chance to position yourself for a win. So I can't say I'm totally surprised that those 2 ended up getting tangled in something. Not necessarily because they don't like each other, because they have any sort of vendetta. It's just that's hard racing, and when you get down towards the end of the race, Evan, those sorts of things just tend to happen.
Do want to remind you, for those who may just be tuning in and weren't with us at the top of the show tonight, the final race on the regular season. For this, the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series presented by Hippie's Paint Shop. After tonight, we will go forward into a handful of other rounds. Atlanta, Chicago, Kentucky. Going to mark up the round of 8. After that, the top 4 drivers will advance to the season finale at Homestead, Miami. That is going to be a winner-take-all. That's coming up later on in the year, obviously, right here on LSRTV. So into tonight, the points sat as follows. Scott Simley, your championship leader, over top of David Comstock, EJ O'Rourke, Mike Kelly, Dwayne Vincent, Chad Cole, Jose Gonzalez, and Doug Roth were the top 8 coming into tonight. First driver out, -22, was William Hale. You've got to look about -29 until you find Jeff Faviano in 10th. Michael Waters, Jeff Ward, about 40 or so points back respectively. So again, the gaps were relatively large into tonight, Coop. So we don't think that anybody is going to make that jump up and below, especially when you talk about how some of the guys, most of the guys above the cut line have been having a good night. But if there's one guy who is going to go above, the money would be on William Hale. He is running in 3rd place at the moment. He has to make up 20-some-odd positions from Doug Roth. Doug Roth is in 18th, so at the moment, they're separated by 15 positions. He needs to get him by 22 points at about a point per position. Not impossible. So there is a lot on the line in these late race restarts, and William Hale, I know, is definitely going to be pushing hard to go for the win.
Yeah, and if you don't think he's going to try and win this race from this position, you're crazy, because we've seen him try and win a race on a 2-tire strategy that fell awfully earlier this year, and don't blame him to try and make that cut on tires to try and win the race. But we know he's in a really good position. We know he's got a good car. Obviously had the fastest car in practice and in qualifying, so he's the driver I'm gonna have my eyes on. I can't say he's gonna win the race because Jeff Ward's had this race on lockdown since I've been here watching the broadcast about halfway. But don't forget, Comstock and him still have to do battle, so we'll have to see.
Pace car will duck off for what could be the final time. 102 laps complete with 23 laps still to go. Green flag in the air, just as we saw last time. Ward, he'll lead Comstock and Hale off to turns 1 and 2. The top 5 that time single filed out very quickly.
Yeah, they made it off clean and green. You have to go back to the 8 of Chad Cole and the 2 of Mike Kelly fighting for the 5th and 6th positions, door to door, wheel to wheel as they head into turn 3. They've got to start going up towards the front. It's just these guys starting to try and block. I can't tell. That might be Shane Ewing, who almost put the block on someone back down. Mike Franklin it was. So everybody bouncing around here on the front straightaway trying to make something happen.
32 machine all over the back bumper of Bobby Terrell as they battle for the number 7 spot with the single file out. Comstock going to backwards. Hale's got a position, so does Tim Matthews. Drop the 40 at David Comstock, who we really circled, maybe being the biggest challenger for Jeff Ward, back 2 spots into P4. So William Hale, 1 position away from doing everything he can as he closes in on the back of the 9. He was asking under the caution flag, what do the points look like? And then he asked, do I need to win? So the 62 knows what's at stake, and he's about a half a car length to a car length off of the back bumper.
Oh, this is getting really interesting, and everything he's got calculated in his head when he's going to make the move. And we talked about how good he is on these short runs, and this is basically the run he needs. So he needs to get him now, I think. If he gets him now, he's in the best position. But don't forget Tim Matthews behind him, two-tire strategy, and then past David Comstock, who's still losing position. Just lost another one to the 14 of Bobby Terrell. Something's got to be wrong. He must have made an adjustment on that one. But look, Hale's right on the bumper of the 9 here. He'll have him in a couple laps, I'm sure, but he doesn't want to take out of context the guy who's behind him, Tim Matthews, with 2 tires, still really close. I'm stunned right now by that 54, I'm sorry, that car and its ability to stay up there. But look at these 2. Hale has the underside of them, and they're going to do battle here in turn 1.
Side by side for the race lead inside of 20 laps to go from Charlotte. He had a half a car length to the advantage. They'll be door to door off in the big run off of those 24 degrees of banking down the backstretch. Give it advantage to Jeff Ward. William Hale has to go for broke, because if he doesn't get the spot, that 54 machine might just pass him up as well. P3 really not an option right now, with Doug Roth still running 18th. And the 9 was able to clear him that time by. So now, instead of on the attack, Hale just trying to defend P2 as Tim Matthews goes to the top.
Tim Matthews, who took 2 tires on this pit stop, drove up on the outside and now might be able to clear. No, he won't. They'll still be side by side as they go into the corner. Hale has to get around Matthews, though. He knows how crucial it is to go back up there and go get Jeff Ward. He's got to win this race. It's just about his only shot of making the chase, since 62's got to be on the hunt. But Tim Matthews is right there thwarting his plans left and right at the moment.
Still side by side. The longer this battle goes on, the further and further away Jeff Ward's going to get. He doesn't care who finishes in the number 2 position. He just wants to park that machine in victory lane. He's opening up a gap. The 62 of William Hale does win that battle for second. He's able to get up in front of and clear the 54 of Matthews. Matthews going to go back to the back bumper. Doesn't look to the inside. He will stay behind for the moment. 15 laps to go. Next time, bye, guys. Doug Roth has lost 2 positions since the restart. He is now in 20th spot. making the points right now about a 2-point spread for that final transfer spot.
And you can't forget about these other guys racing on the track too. Chad Cole's on the outside of the 14 of Bobby Terrell, who has gone up 3 spots since that restart. I know it's not a points battle, and but this number 14 machine's on a rail right now. On the bottom, still too wide with Chad Cole. Chad Cole's still trying to get his spot back, and Comstock, he's trying not to lose any more spots. He lost quite a bit of ground and a lot of spots on that last one. And don't forget about Mike Kelly, who actually got really lucky on that last caution 2 cautions ago. He's trying to make the most of it as well. So this battle between these guys right now, side by side, it looks like for 6th place, or the top 5, I should say, with Cole getting the spot this time around. This is becoming a good battle here, too, as they're going 2 wide abreast behind him, too.
62 of William Hale continues to apply pressure on the back of the dot at Jeff Ford. And he really knew coming into tonight, and we've been talking about the points at -22, James, that doesn't matter where Doug Roth is. If Roth finishes 30th, whether Roth finishes 2nd, all he could do, win the race, get the maximum points allotted, and hope that that other driver, as much as these guys really hate to rely on somebody else's misfortunes to get in, they like to be able to do it themselves, can't really control his own destiny at the moment. He needs to get that 1 extra spot, but again, Doug Roth, as somebody who lost 2 positions off of the restart, he just passed 2 cars back in 18th, so now that's spread a little bit more in favor of the 43 team. William Hale has to get to the 9, but I wonder if he maybe burnt those tires up because Jeff Ford is scooting away.
I wouldn't put it out of the question because we know how hard William Hale can race, especially in situations like this where you have to go for broke. And I noticed over the course of that last lap that the 54 of Tim Matthews was able to close that gap just a little bit on the 62, and Jeff Ford has been able to scoot away to the tune of just under half a second. So maybe he's cooling the tires down to get one last crack at Jeff Ford. I don't know, but time is of the essence for William Hale, and it's not something he has a lot of at the moment.
Guys, 4th on the back start to spread out just a little bit more. Bobby Terrell in that spot, 1 second back. David Comstock has fallen now to 5th after Bobby Terrell was able to get that 1 extra spot for him. The Monster Energy Chevrolet may have missed on that opportunity to do something with this. Again, he looked really good on the long run. Drove from 13th to 2nd under green flag conditions alone. He's now back down to P5 though, and he's going to have to deal with Chad Cole coming up to the back bumper. So as much as we are following this battle for the race lead, the battle for 2nd, and of course what that means on the final transfer spot towards the chase for the championship, there are still a handful of battles all over the racetrack, including one for P10. Jose Gonzalez trying to hold off Dwayne Vincent. He can't do it.
No, and I was just watching Vincent, that number 25 car, just get around him. And it looks like the 33 tried, or the 26 tries to do the crossover, and he does, right on the back straightaway. He's going to try and get right back under him. And there's a big cluster of cars behind him, all for position. And so you can't forget about that. And Dwayne Vincent just absolutely pinched Jose Gonzalez down right there out of the corner. That's something you see a veteran driver like him can do and execute good. And also you can know that Jose Gonzalez has also been around this league for quite a while. So those two race around each other. I'm sure they're having a lot of fun with it, as well as the battles behind them do seem to sort themselves out as it looks single file. Top 10 now for Dwayne Vincent and others.
Inside of 10 laps to go, just going to be on the brink of getting that 5 to go. Once we get to 5 laps to go, as you watch a side-by-side battle for 4th, Comstock trying to get it back from Terrell. They'll go way up to the outside fence into 1 and 2, and a big run off of the corner should let him get it. Yes, it does. At 5 to go, a caution from that point on would end this race. There is no overtime at the iRacing service. This race would end under yellow if a caution comes out with 5 laps or less to go. So for some of these guys, their hopes beginning to dwindle away. Jeff Ford takes lap number 119.
I feel like David Comstock might be in a bit of a spot between a rock and a hard place, because it looks like that car's come back to life after 4, 5, 6 laps in the green. So he probably has his car set up for the long run, which means he needs a green flag condition to go actually catch Jeff Ford. The problem is that he's only got 6 laps to do it. So, a yellow would bunch him back up, but would he be able to get a good drive off the restart to catch Jeff Ford? I don't know. All I know is that David Comstock is going to push as hard as he can to try and go get Tim Matthews to work his way up the leaderboard.
trying to get that final spot that would put him inside of the top 3 on the night. Matthews still trying to work with William Hale, but at this point it looks like Hale's hopes of getting that number 1 position have also faded away. He is going to be 1 second behind Jeff Ward this time by as they cross that crucial 5-lap to go marker in tonight's Charlotte 125. Jeff Ward, the best car all night, 5 laps away from locking this one up. The battle now is a 3-way fight for second.
Yeah, and you're going to see that Comstock has it looks like a much superior car at this point. He is able to save the tires a lot longer than these other guys, and like Jake said, this is a driver that has a long-term style of driving, and it's going to show. And I bet you he gets Hale as well, who's not going to be happy about losing another spot, even though at this point it doesn't make a difference because Roth has gained a couple more, at least 4 more spots, I believe. So to add a little bit of insult to injury, but at the same time, Hale's not going to give him any room to try and make the pass. He does make the pass, but he did not make it easy. Definitely pinched him down in the middle of the corner, and you're going to see Comstock maybe have. I don't think he has enough laps. I think it was said just a second ago, but I just don't think he has enough time.
Might get maybe 1 more opportunity as a part of these battles to get a spot here or there, but David Comstock is definitely going to have to get going at 3 laps to go. He would have to make up at least half of a second per lap, and he's fast, and we knew he was fast. And again, I think back to the point that you made, James, we circled that 40 as being the guy that could have put it to jeopardy. Was just too slow out of the box off the restart to get to him. I don't think he has enough time to get the popsicle sticks this time by.
Yeah, I think at this point it's going to take some sort of mistake on Jeff Ward's part for David Comstock to even have a chance at getting that 9 car for the win. As Ward gets the 2 laps to go from the flagman, double popsicle sticks in the air. He's got 2 laps until he can go pick up his second checkered flag of this 2016-2017 RSR Icebreaker Winter Series.
Jeff Ward, as we noted, one of the drivers below the cut line, came into tonight 38 points below it, not in a realistic position to try to advance. And we think that that number 9 machine kind of acknowledged that. And I don't think that despite the fact that he's going to get the best points result that he can, he was not in the same position as William Hale was into tonight, as Hale is just going to struggle to hang on to third. He's got Chad Cole all over him, just out the back end. Not impossible. But for Jeff Ward, with a win below the cut line tonight, just the night about added onto the stat sheet. And as he is going to plan on doing it for the next 4 races after tonight, just put that car in victory lane and try to play spoiler. Tonight, he will walk off on top in dominating fashion. Checkered flag, the win from Charlotte to Jeff Ward.
Yeah, and the race for third right there. I think William Hale got beat just barely by Chad Cole. It was a heck of a finish, but Chad Cole barely edged him out.
Cole's going to get it. The official difference between the two. Chad Cole ended up coming home 2.665 seconds behind Jeff Ward. William Hale came home 2.674. Though the difference between the two of them is going to be 9/10 of a second when it's all said and done. You take a look for the other driver that was a part of this equation, Doug Roth, the driver who came into tonight in that final spot above the cut line, was able to improve, guys, to a spectacular P11. With that finish, after at one point in that final run, James being in 22nd spot, Doug Roth finishes 11th, even a win. With that scenario, with William Hale going to victory lane, that wouldn't have even been enough to make up that 22-point gap with Doug Roth coming home P11. So that 43 stepped it up when he needed to the most.
Doug Roth safely in the chase. Pretty solid an amount of work, I'd say, when you wrap it all up here in Charlotte. So I think he'll be happy about that. And it was an impressively quiet run. He was back down in 22nd, I think, maybe a lap after the restart. So to come all the way up, get those 10 spots, a nice little run through the field in the final restart to lock himself into the chase.
None of that to take away from Jeff Ward. He burns it down on the front straightaway as your winner tonight for the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We'll step aside one final time. We'll come back on the other side and we'll talk to your race winner. We'll get you set for the start of the chase for the championship back here on LSR TV next week on the 23rd of January. It all gets kicked off at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Again, tonight was the first of 5 consecutive 1.5-mile racetracks. maybe Jeff Ward, despite not being in the chase for the championship, has a lot to look forward to in the second half of this season. You're watching LSR TV's continuing coverage of the 2016-2017 Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series presented by Hippie's Paint Shop. We go to Victory Lane when we come back.
It was more than impressive, I have to say. I mean, the track is identical to the real track. I was blown away how realistic it is. Every little bump, every little spray paint, everything is exactly like you were there at the track. It was a great experience. This is a warm-up lap now. Tires to get warmed up. The engine. Breathe a little bit here when you go through that little bump there. And then it's flat pretty much all the way through here, just about. Hard braking. This is the slowest part of the track. And then I've done, I did many races in Formula 3, Formula 2. And then I did the very last race they did there in Group C in 1983 in the 956 Porsche. That's when Beloff got the lap record at the 6:11. I think I was second on the grid with the 6:14 or something. Which was, those cars were awesome around there, of course, like any car is, that speed. And this is the corner of all corners here, the Schwedenkreuz. Flat all the way into it. And then trail brake all the way into the apex here. And then hard at it again to get good speed down the hill here. Mega fast down this hill here. Just jump from one apex to the next. Gotta be super precise here. It's almost exactly like the real thing. So, it is certainly realistic enough to get past the very, a lot of the initial hurdles you have when you try to learn to drive a race car, So, I think it's an excellent tool to learn how to race for sure, or learn to drive a car on a racetrack.
The straights are unbelievably long. The first time you come here, everyone tells you, you'll be flat out 6th gear for 20 seconds. First time I was here, I lifted halfway down the straight. I didn't believe that it was still going. I was waiting to brake and I was back on the power. And the Porsche curves are extremely fast and extremely narrow, so it's a tricky track. And every year I've come here, you learn something new every time.
Le Mans is so fast. Wherever you accelerate, you are over 150 miles per hour. Going there, I realized everything you have done before was nothing.
So cool, yeah. Nate, what are you working on at the moment?
So I'm working on the animation for the game. We're working on getting pit crews fully developed, and that involves a lot of moving parts. So I'm going in and making sure that each moving part can dovetail smoothly into the next one, so that when you pull in for a pit stop, it looks like the real thing, as opposed to a bunch of jumbled pieces that suddenly stop and then go and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's so cool, but why aren't you working on the time model? Nothing?
Welcome back live to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We now have 6 races complete on this Real Series Icebreaker Winter Series campaign. We'll go down trackside, talk to some of your top finishers in just a moment. First, we'll take a look at tonight's LSRTV full race results presented by Hippie's Paint Shop. Hippie's Paint Shop has over 5 years of providing top quality custom paint schemes for all iRacing vehicles at a low price, because after all, at Hippie's Paint Shop, the cost isn't high, just the painter. Jeff Ward, your race winner, going to be in victory lane tonight. David Comstock comes home second, and Chad Cole comes home in third. The driver who started on pole position, William Hale, just shy of maybe stealing this one at the end. He'll come up short of a chase berth with a P4 result tonight. Tim Matthews comes home inside of the top 5. Bobby Terrell with a good showing in P6. Your big mover out of nowhere, how about Mike Franklin? Plus 27 to come home in 7th tonight. Dwayne Vincent just a tick behind Tim in 8th spot. Jose Gonzalez comes home in 9th, and Mike Kelly rounds out our top 10.
Mike Franklin had a huge drive, but give a shout out to Doug Roth, who locks himself into the chase by coming from 33rd on the grid when we dropped the green flag to 11th when we dropped the checkered flag. So, plus 20 plus spots for Doug Roth. He'll come home in 11th and lock himself into the chase. AJ Browning finished in the 12th position. John Abbott came home 13th. The 14th position belonged to the 55 of Michael Waters. Shane Ewing in that white 32 Chevy Camaro came home 15th. 16th belonged to the 41 of E.J. O'Rourke. Scott Stenzel finished in the 17th position. James Nunn came home 18th. Scott Sibley finished in the 19th position. Jeffrey Ford rounds out the top 20.
And Gerald Campbell will finish 21st. Steve Bavak will finish 22nd, with Joey Katina right behind him, 23rd. David Patone, 24th. Justin Listenby on the last car on the lead lap, 25th. Scott Warren, the first car a lap down, 26th. Jeff Faviano, 27th. Alan Rowell, 28th. Bobby Wetzel, 29th. And Douglas Wyatt rounds out the top 30.
Final 2 guys that were on track at the end of it, Brian Chambliss 31st and Joe Hudson 32nd. Both of them come home 3 laps down. The rest of these guys were out of this race and behind the wall. 33rd through 37th was David Nance, Eric Arnold, John Fowler, Josh Cheney, and Brian Macklin. At the back of the pack, that's look top to bottom at your LSRTV full race results. Trackside now with the driver who goes to victory lane tonight from Charlotte, Jeff Ward. Jeff, congratulations. This race looked like it was all but decided. You had safely navigated 2 cycles of green flag service. You were, I think, at that point, nearly 9 seconds. And then a caution comes out just inside of 30 laps to go, and ended up not being too big of a problem. You guys were able to easily navigate both of those restarts from there on out, but I know that had to have your heart pounding at that point.
Yeah, Evan, I definitely didn't want to see a caution that late in the race there. After, having that big of a lead, I felt like that might have costed us the race when that caution flew. But, we was able to have a good pit stop there, and William definitely come up there and was battling with us, was able to hang on the outside. And I know he wanted that win to try to make the chase, but you just can't give these things up, man. I need all the momentum I can get going in, and we got some stiff competition, so it's good to get a win here.
For you guys, a lot of this race, especially late based on some of the drama, we were talking about the chase stuff. You guys came into tonight at a really long shot, I think just kind of over the cusp where you guys were thinking that, maybe this thing would work out. But multiple trips to victory lane, 4 more tracks coming up that are relatively similar to this one. What's going to be the objective for you guys going forward?
The 1.5 mile tracks have been pretty good so far this year for us, and I know usually that's not my strong suit, so it's kind of surprising, but just going to keep digging and and hoping that these things keep going green that long. That really seems to suit my driving style, and when we can get on pit road and off and go a long distance there. So hopefully we can keep having lucky brakes go our way like that, and just keep plugging at it.
Atlanta in specific, I know that all of these races on the second half of the season were, all intermediate racetracks. Charlotte's a fun one under the lights tonight. Atlanta, another one where it's high speed, high banks. What are some of the differences, and do you think that that's a track specifically that we can see another performance out of you guys like we did tonight? Because despite the fact that you guys fell back to third there right off of the tick of things, you guys were absolutely, I think, the best car when it came to the long run tonight.
Yeah, Atlanta's not one of my best tracks. I feel like that's more of a track where, you're a lot closer on the track. It seems like the whole race, it's hard to really gap anybody because I don't really know what it is. I guess because the turns are longer and it's less technical. But we'll see how it goes. We'll definitely have to put some practice in for that. And I'm more looking forward to Chicago. I think that's in our schedule there, so that's one of my better ones. And we'll see how it goes. Like I said, there's some big names in this chase. David and Dwayne Vincent, just a handful of really good drivers. So it ain't going to be easy, but I'm looking forward to fighting through it.
If tonight was any indication of what is to come, it is going to be a thrilling chase for the championship. Jeff, I know that we'll let you take off. I do wish you the best of luck going forward. Before we do, as always, the sponsors to shout out. Who makes it happen?
Well, thanks to Real Sim Racing. It's always fun racing here. Thanks to my team, Kentuckiana Motorsports. Just friends and family for watching, and you guys for doing the broadcast.
The race winner tonight, Jeff Ward. Jeff, congratulations. We will talk to you next week. Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Jeff Ward gets the win here tonight. But you look at what's going to be the final chase for the championship grid. David Comstock, Jeff Ward, Dwayne Vincent, Michael Waters, the top four with Scott Simley, Chad Cole, EJ O'Rourke, and Mike Kelly, the final 8 drivers after factoring in bonus points for the wins. A P2 tonight for a name that I had just noted. He will go in at the top of the championship grid. Was it a win here tonight? But great way to get things ramped up as he gets set to chase a championship as well starting next week. P2 tonight for David Comstock. Trackside with him is James.
And down here with a driver who just absolutely hauled the mail, especially in that second half of the race, David Comstock. And David, you had a really, really, really strong car on the long runs. We saw it in that second run when you were running with Tim Matthews, and then on that final run, you kind of got mired back in traffic a little bit, but you're able to drive back up towards Jeff Ward. Talk a little bit about your setup coming into this race and how you were going to approach it.
This Moss Energy Gary Mercer Trucking Chevy was really good on the long runs. I mean, in practice, I was able to run pretty solid hot laps. I wasn't nearly as quick as the fast guys for a hot lap, but I noticed that if you were to push your car really hard on the start, because this car and the track combination with it being nighttime, you had so much grip that long run it really affected the longevity, especially of the right front tire. So I just kind of ran my own pace, and that last restart kind of concerned me with how far I fell back. I'm thinking there's no way I'm going to get back up through the field at least to second and have a chance to catch Jeff at all, really. But just ran my own deal and let the tires come back to me. And I think I needed about 10 more laps to get to Jeff. He was checked out pretty good.
Yeah, and a strong car, but you were coming too. But, you don't necessarily get the win tonight, but 2 wins on the season. You're in the chase. You go to Atlanta, which is a track very similar to Charlotte, one of the 3 quad ovals on the circuit we have. In a lot of respects, you use a lot of the same things. So just talk about where you feel like you are going into the chase, your kind of mental setup, and where you feel like things are headed for you in this 40 team.
I feel we have a real legitimate shot. I feel that we need to not get caught up in anybody's mess or create our own mess, and just having good finishes and running like how we've been running whenever we haven't had any issues. And we should have a legitimate shot at winning the championship here. And you can kind of take some of the things to Atlanta, but really not, because it's really a driver's racetrack with the amount of character and how much that pavement is worn when you go to it. So I feel with my driving style and how I'm able to take care of my tires, it's going to benefit me when we get there.
Do you feel like Atlanta maybe suits you just a little bit better because it is such a driver's track and you do have to manage your tires well in order to have a shot at a victory there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel searching around line searching for grip. That's gonna play into my back pocket as well. Maybe I just gave away a little something for next week that I might try to do, but I mean, everybody knows the way this new build that iRacing is putting out lately, and everybody waiting for the dirt release that they're doing the dynamic track setup, so everybody knows that you have an opportunity to move around, especially when you get to a track where the grip starts to go away.
Wouldn't necessarily say you gave away anything, because it's not something that anybody else would do. Totally natural to search for lines, I think. But great run tonight. Before we let you go, we're going to give you the prerequisite chance to give a shout out to sponsors and everyone that makes it happen for you. So who do you want to thank for everything that's happened tonight, David?
I would like to thank everybody at Aftermath Motorsports for allowing myself, Brian Macklin, EJ Work for coming over and running here. Sponsors Gary Mercer Trucking and Monster Energy, and JD Laird for having my car painted every single week, and EJ Brakes, Pick and Jicks, Real Sim Racing for providing the leagues run every single week, and LSRTV for you guys broadcasting. And look out for us as well at our team at Aftermath. We're running the 24-hour race coming up this weekend. We got 2 cars that we're going for entry in the Mercedes, so keep an eye on that.
We appreciate what you do for the series. We'll look forward to seeing you at Daytona and at Atlanta next weekend. So congratulations on a great run tonight, David, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thank you. See you next week.
It's David Comstock, who finished P2 tonight after a strong charge at the end of the race. Just couldn't quite catch Jeff Ford, but we'll roll on back to that third spot finisher now, to Chad Cole, who is trackside with our own Austin Coop.
Yeah, I'm here with Chad Cole, and we talk about the late race surge that you had. You started 7th, and a lot better than what you had in practice. You were 14th in practice, moved it all the way up to 7th, and then moved it even further in the race, and that's when it's most important there for you. But you got 3 spots on that final restart, and you barely edged William Hale at the end. Talk about it with us, your race, and all the pit strategies, how it was going through your head, and then the caution just kind of putting a wrench in everything there for you, Chad.
Yeah, I didn't want to see that caution at all. Myself and my teammate Jose kind of thought we had it made going in the chase there. Unfortunately, he's going to come 1 point short of that. Just tried to get a nice long run groove going. It had that feel, and sure enough, we went 80-something laps for the first caution. So I was just kind of trying to pace myself once we had fresh tires, and eventually we'd start pulling back up to the front of the field and at the end of the run. And yeah, William Hale, I know he's kind of aggressive. I was kind of catching him. I had a lap to think about what am I going to do here, because I knew I was locked in. And I just wanted to talk to you guys so bad. It's been about a year. I wanted to get that 3rd place finish so bad. So I'm glad to do it. That was a pretty exciting finish. I hope we put on a good show for the fans.
Yeah, we were watching that battle, at least I was, between you and Hale, and you guys did put quite the heck of a show on. I think you were in the grass at some point on the front straightaway. Didn't know whether you liked it or not, but up in the booth, it was definitely an exciting finish. Talk to us about prepping for that last green flag run, because it's almost like it's an entirely different race at that point. First, you had the caution, and then you had the botch, basically. Your teammate Jose was involved in that little bit of a spin out, it looked like, and then you guys had to go again, basically just scratch those and then take those couple guys in the back. Preparing for those restarts, knowing that you kind of had that longer car feel for the track, how do you prepare for trying to go for a short run?
Yeah, it's very difficult. I am not a short run driver, but that last restart was with 25 to go, and I know that you can't save right there. I mean, you got to go, or you're gonna get run over. And I was lucky to hang on. Past a couple guys there, got past, then was able to gain a couple spots back. It's a lot of fun with these tires. Just really not sure what you're gonna get sometimes, but that 25 lap run was very nerve-wracking, but I'm glad we held on.
Well, going forward, I do believe you are in the chase, so you will be able to go for a championship for the next, I think, 5 weeks here coming shortly. Got anything prepared for any of these tracks coming up? Atlanta's next week. Is it a track that you're familiar with? I think I actually raced at in one of the other fun races that we've had over the races, and noticed that you were up there. But is this a track that you are good in this car particularly?
Yeah, these next 4 races, which make up the rest of the chase, will be playing in my wheelhouse here with Chicago as well, and Atlanta I think is probably one of my better tracks. I think it's just going to be really important to try to get a win. These guys are very tough, and you see what Jeff Ward did tonight, leading 80-something laps, and David Comstock again, tough as always. So gonna have to be practicing some more. Not really a fan of practicing in advance. Usually just show up night of the race and hop in the server and get laps that way. But against these guys, I don't think you're gonna be able to do that. You're gonna need to be practicing the week leading up to it.
Well, we do appreciate your time, and before we let you go, we do want to give you that chance to give any thanks and shout-outs to anybody, fans at home, or any kind of sponsors that you got.
Yeah, I got to give a shout-out to my Finish Line Racing crew. Joey Jatina, Joe Hudson, Scott Stenzel, and I guess even Jose Gonzalez, even though he threw me under the bus a couple weeks ago. They're a good support system, and I enjoy being around those guys every night.
Well, there you have it, Chad Cole. Congratulations on the third-place finish in spectacular fashion.
Yeah, thank you guys very much.
Well, we'll give it back up topside to Evan here in a little bit. Guys, it was, in my opinion, quite the sideways race. I know I came only halfway in, but it was almost 2 races there at the end.
Yeah, the first 3 quarters was that long, stretched-out green flag race. We thought that we had a relatively good idea on what this thing was going to be, and then that caution flag made us pause and think, what could it be? In the end, not a whole lot changed. Jeff Ward still ends up as our winner tonight, James, but it definitely was a tale of 2 races. Good for the 9 team that caution flag that wasn't obviously of their fault didn't take a win away from that team. They're primed and ready to go for this championship if tonight was any indication.
Yeah, I'll be very curious to see what Jeff Ward can pull off in the chase because he's been so strong. I think you make the case that he probably should have had 3 wins if it weren't for that late race caution in the pit stop here in Texas, but he was dominant in Vegas. He was dominant here tonight. Something tells me that when we get to Atlanta next week, that 9 car is going to have something to say about who ends up in victory lane at the end of everything.
The final look at the championship grid as we go into the round of 8 will be as follows. Again, advancing in on wins, David Comstock, Jeff Ward with 2 apiece, Dwayne Vincent and Michael Waters with 1 apiece. Scott Simley, Chad Cole, EJ O'Rourke, and Mike Kelly are going to be the drivers that advance in based on points. Jose Gonzalez misses out by 1 point to that final transfer spot, and we talked about Doug Ross' big push at the end from 22nd to 11th. That one wasn't enough as he comes home about 7 points shy of the cut line. That does it, though, here for us tonight for the Charlotte Motor Speedway as we get set to kick off this 4-race and 2-round chase for the championship that gets start next week on LSRTV iRacing Live, January the 23rd from Atlanta, the 30th from Chicago, and February the 6th from Kentucky is the round of 8. And then, of course, the one that you're all going to want to be tuned into, that 4-driver winner-take-all, the round of 4 from the Homestead of Miami Speedway in a couple of weeks' time on the 13th of February. Until next time, though, that does it here for us tonight on behalf of the entire team at LSRTV LLC, for the folks behind the scenes, and for the broadcast crew tonight. For myself, Evan Pasoko, for James Pike, Austin Coop, and our producer, Cisco Scaramuza, I want to congratulate Jeff Ward, your winner tonight in the Charlotte 125, and also congratulate your 8 championship drivers going forward. You can catch the full RSR Icebreaker Winter Series presented by Hippie's Paint Shop Chase for the Championship right here on LSR TV and iRacing Live. Until next time, we bid you a good night.